Most knowledge workers are watching their job description erode in real time. They are responding by working harder at tasks the machine already does cheaper. The obstacle is not the AI. The obstacle is the refusal to look directly at what changed. Marcus Aurelius wrote a line that gets repeated until it loses meaning. The interference with action becomes the action. What blocks the path becomes the path. I read this not as poetry, but as instruction. When the world removes a root, the removal contains information. It tells you the route was never the destination. The destination was somewhere underneath it. The Stoics held a strange position on adversity. They did not say it builds character. They said it reveals what was already there. The obstacle does not create your response. It exposes the response you were always going to have. This matters because most people treat disruption as a problem to wait out. They assume the old shape of work will return if they hold still long enough. The Stoic position is colder and more useful. The disruption is not weather, it is terrain. The terrain has changed and will not change back. So the question is never whether the obstacle is fair. The question is what the obstacle is teaching about the ground you were standing on. Usually it was thinner than you thought. Knowledge work, for 40 years, rewarded a specific skill stack. You could read a brief, summarize it, draft a memo, format a deck, schedule the meeting, and send the follow-up. Each of those was a billable competence. Stack enough of them, and you had a career. A language model now performs most of that stack at a passable level for almost no money. Not perfectly. Passably. And passably is the threshold that destroys middle-tier knowledge work, because most knowledge work was already passable. The common response is denial dressed as productivity. People learn prompt tricks. They paste their old workflow into a chat window and feel modern. They are using a new tool to preserve an old job description. The job description is the thing that died. A smaller group panics in the other direction. They try to become AI experts overnight, chasing every new model, every new agent framework. They are not building a career. They are building a treadmill that accelerates faster than they can run. Both responses share the same error. They treat the AI as the obstacle. The AI is not the obstacle. The obstacle is that your work was, in honest terms, a set of legible procedures that someone wrote down and a machine learned to imitate. That was always going to end. The model just set the date. Reframing means looking at what the machine cannot do and being specific. It cannot decide what is worth doing. It cannot hold a relationship across years. It cannot sit with a hard problem and refuse to ship a shallow answer. It cannot take responsibility because nothing is at stake for it. These are not soft skills. These are the skills that were always doing the real work, hidden underneath the procedures. The procedures got the credit. The judgment got the salary by association. Now the procedures are free. The judgment is exposed. People who built their identity on procedural competence are discovering they were paid for something they were not actually doing. People who quietly developed judgment, taste, and accountability are discovering their work was never the deliverable. It was the decision behind the deliverable. This is what Marcus meant, applied to a knowledge economy. The thing in your way is showing you what your work actually was. If the machine can do it, it was procedure. If the machine cannot, it was yours. The cost of missing this is not unemployment next quarter. The cost is spending 3 more years optimizing a skill stack that is depreciating to zero, while the actual leverage compounds elsewhere. When our design team lost access to the old templating system last month, we had to manually rebuild workflows in Claude, which forced us to actually articulate what we'd been doing on autopilot, and caught 3 redundant steps we'd never questioned before. The constraint became useful in a way the familiar tool never was. 1 practice. A paper notebook, not a document. 15 minutes every morning before you open any application. Write today's date. Underneath, write 2 columns. On the left, list every task on your plate today that a competent model could draft in under 5 minutes. On the right, list every task that requires a judgment only you can defend to another human being. The rule is this: anything in the left column gets delegated to the model before lunch, with the time saved logged in the margin. Anything in the right column gets your undistracted attention in the first deep block of the day before email. If the right column is empty, that is the finding. You spent yesterday doing work the machine now does. Today, you find one judgment task, however small, and put it there. You do it before anything else. The notebook stays on paper because the friction is the point. Typing makes it easy to lie to yourself. Handwriting forces a slower honesty about what you are actually being paid to do. This is the disciplined operator, where the old virtues meet the new tools.